Let's make some little farmhouse bunnies in clay pots using some gingham check napkins. Now, these clay pots I got from Amazon, these measure 2.5 inches. And the little bunny eggs I got from the Dollar Tree, I'm just taking a cotton ball and some fingernail polish remover and then just taking off the faces of the little bunnies here. Then I'm just going to use some glue and Titebond Thick and Quick works the best for me. And so I glue those pieces together. And then I paint them just using some Boss Bond, which is kind of like a primer. These eggs are plastic, so they're not porous. So it needs something to stick to for my paint to stick to. I just use some clothespins just to kind of help myself hold it while I paint it. For the white and chocolate paint colors, I use buttercream and also chocolate. Those are by Dixie Belle. Those are just colors that I had on hand, and I do like to use chalk paint on these type of projects because it does seem to give a very nice finish. But just these are just really for inspiration, and you can use whatever you like. I let my bunnies completely dry, and for the terracotta pots, I also gave them just a coat of the Boss Bond by Dixie Belle just to add a little bit of color underneath there. I'm going to be using these orange and white gingham napkins that I got. These are from like the fall season that I had in my stash. Got those from Hobby Lobby, and then I take off the back ply of the napkin because it is a 2-ply, and so then I just Mod Podge that on the terracotta pots, kind of work in sections because the terracotta pot does have an angle to it, so I just work in sections, just going along and long and just adding some Mod Podge. I gave a little bit of distressing with my vintage photo distress ink. Later, I did change to my Kills Dark Wax because I like just a little bit of how that looked a little bit better than just the ink. So then to start filling my little clay pots to get my bunnies to stick in there, I'm just taking my Titebond Thick and Quick and just some styrofoam. I just had some of these balls on hand as well as just other little pieces of styrofoam, and then I just build them up in the terracotta pots because I want to kind of make a little basket, a little area for my little bunny to sit into because I need to make sure that they are secure in there. And so I just added some moss to that, just to add a little bit of greenery. I have some glitter on hand, and so I just took some satin, just some varnish, and just gave it the kind of a coat of that, then just sprinkled on some glitter just to give it a little bit of glistening to it. Then I'm just taking the end of a brush and just some glue, and then just gluing those little bunnies. They're in the middle, and then I'll just be adding some little flowers as well as some of the sisal grass just to give it a little bit of the wispy look. I did add some jute around the terracotta pot as well as a homespun bow and a tiny, teeny little button there in the middle of those chocolate bunnies. And then also added some fun of things to the buttermilk bunnies. And I absolutely love how these farmhouse bunnies turned out, and they're very popular this year in my shop. Let me share how I made my grubby farmhouse carrots. Yes, guys, I'm using some of these kind of like little travel things like for shampoo or soap or something like that. Got them from Dollar Tree. And then now I'm going to take some orange paint. This is Waverly. I think this is called pumpkin. And then I'm taking Dixie Belle Sea Spray, which is an additive. It provides texture. And so I should have had a little bigger bowl. And so I didn't. I just was kind of working with what I had. And so I am just stirring that up. And then I'm just going to be painting that on these little bottles, and I let them dry completely overnight. Then the next day I go back with my Kills Dark wax just to give a little bit of grungy, darkness to it. Then I take my wispy paintbrush and go over it just with some white. And then to decorate them, this is always the fun part. I have just some greenery that I added to the top. I also added in just a homespun, just a piece of homespun. I tied that on there, and then I just hand lettered because I was selling these in a set of three farmhouse carrots. So I just hand lettered farmhouse carrots, 5 cents. I just did bunny bait, and I also did a tag that said spring. And so I just love creating little things like this, just putting my own little special touches on it. And again, I am so appreciative that you find inspiration that you can create for yourself if you want to have it for your home, or if you make and sell these type of items. I do share freely here on my channel, and I do appreciate you for being here. Give me a thumbs up. This was a very special project that I did, guys. This was inspired by my friend Michelle, who is Little Jumbled Market over on Facebook. She made one of these, and I absolutely fell in love with it. And she is offering the printable as well. I'll have a link to her Facebook page and all of that stuff in the description box below, because I do want to give her the credit for the wonderful inspiration. So, guys, what I did here is just use a cutting board. Now, these are from the Valentine's season, but any little surface would work. I just stained it like I usually do with some antique wax and all of that good stuff. Then I'm just going to I tried to do the chippy technique, but I forget that these cutting boards are not the best for chipping. It just didn't work very well. So then to adhere the little print, again, you can find that on Michelle's Facebook page. I just printed it on regular copier paper, and then just off of my inkjet printer. And so then I just tore around the edges, and then just Mod Podge that on to the surface of the board. I added a fabric bow, a fabric hanger, of course, my sisal grass and all that fun stuff. And I just added some little buttons there to the corners, and of course, had to add all of my distressing and all of that good stuff. Added some stickles just to add a little bit of sparkle to my church windows and all of that. And I absolutely love how this turned out. And I know, and I hope that you will too. I like to pick up these like frames where they have from different seasons. This was a football season, and the backing comes out pretty easy, and I just gave it a coat of black paint. Then I'm just using some regular Elmer's school glue, and then just putting that on there and letting that dry, because I'm going to be putting on some buttermilk paint to give the crackle technique. And even though I don't show it, but that's what I did. I let that glue dry, and then I just put on my buttermilk paint, and it gave the crackle technique. And so then now I'm just going over kind of enhancing just a little bit of it with my Kills Dark wax, just in different pieces. Then the beautiful, absolutely beautiful horse transfer is from Essential Stencil, the Wild Roses Ranch set that Essential Stencil has offered. If they are still available, I'll put a link for those in the description box below. If they're sold out, just do a request a restock. That way it lets Essential Stencil staff know that people are interested, and then that's how they kind of gauge what they're going to be stocking or restocking on their transfers. Now, someone recently asked me, what is the difference between a transfer and a decal? And so the short answer is a transfer like this, it just kind of melts into whatever your background is. A decal is basically like a sticker, it kind of sits on the top, kind of like a sticker does. And so that's why these transfers, I love working with them because they just kind of melt into my background and it just provides the most high end, almost hand painted look. I like to kick it up a notch and use my stickles just to give it a little bit of glistening to it. And I'll have a link for this in the description box below. I just picked it up off of Amazon. And so then once all of that is completely dry, then I go ahead and add a little bit of diamond dust, which is like also kind of like a little sparkle. And I picked up that container over at Michael's and I just put it in that salt shaker or sugar shaker, and that works really good. Then once everything is completely dry, then I take my backing and then put it in the frame just using my stick fast glue. Then I'm going to go ahead and add a swag at the top. I got these beautiful roses from Amazon, and so I just had some other greenery in my stash. And so I'm just going to make a swag at the top. And then I'm going to be adding a very fun coordinating fabric bow, just using some homespun fabric and different coordinating fabrics that I had. And then I just put a button in the middle and this tie everything together. And this is absolutely gorgeous. I love taking these transfers and kicking them up a notch, adding my own special touches to it that you cannot find in the store. And so that's what I like to add to my shop over at countrycharmedbytracy.com. I do love to add different pieces like this because I am so grateful for all of my friends and followers that have been with me for so many years, or new friends that are just finding me. You can check my store tab here on YouTube to see what I have currently available, or you can go to countrycharmedbytracy.com and select see what's available now to see what I have in my shop. Okay, friends, these are my 5x5 wood blocks that I do offer in my shop, and they're very popular for me throughout the seasons. And so I wanted to kind of share what I use, what I do, because I do have a lot of friends that do like to make their own, and also maybe you do craft shows or sell on Etsy or something like that. So I get the 5x5 wood blocks as well as the also the little wooden front pieces, all from Amazon. I have a link for those in the description box below. I just stain the edges just with my Waverly antique wax, and then I just paint the face of the blocks just with buttermilk or whatever paint that I have that I want. And then I just take a wispy brush and just make like a plaid pattern. Then I go along with my flat paint brush and just do some shading because I really feel that that just really makes my projects pop. I add my black Sharpie marker just to bring it out a little bit. Now, for the stars of the show, depending on the season, I do love to use the Essential Stencil transfers. Again, the transfers are so very high end. They're very vibrant, and they just just go on like butter. And I just use my transfer tool just to transfer them. And I'm just using a couple of different sets there. I am a brand ambassador, and so I do love to use these projects or products in my crafting and creating. And I just love all of the different designs that they have and that they're continuing to come out with. I like to add a little bit of definition around the image, just using my Kills Dark Wax and just a little bit of paint, like glitter, like mm, tulip glitter paint, puffy paint. I get it either from Amazon or Hobby Lobby. I like to use stickles. I like to use a little bit of glitter. And also, I seal all of my projects. And then I like to add just some greenery, some different coordinating florals, and a bow that matches. And I just kind of add that to the top. And I just absolutely love how these turned out. I love all of these transfers from Essential Stencil and just kind of make it my own style. And I am just so fortunate that you're here. I hope that you find some inspiration. And thank you so much for watching. Give me a thumbs up if you like this, because I do appreciate your support. And it's just a free way to help us creators continue to be seen here on YouTube.